So our third speaker today is Shooki Grasiani, who is a Senior Product Manager of Specialty Products with Starlims Corporation. Shooki has nearly 9 years of experience in laboratory informatics and domain expertise in the intersection of technology and science. He has extensive background in product development, implementation, and business processes for regulated as well as non-regulated industries. Shooki, welcome again to the webinar. I know we had talked to each other a couple of weeks ago on our informatics webinar, so looking forward to hearing more specifics from you about big data.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for attending, everybody. I would like to spend the next 10 minutes really scratching the surface of what we could do with big data. So it's really hard to find any organization or consumer who has less data today than a year ago. And what we see databases that have larger storage. We see a lot of business intelligence evolving to a new era of organization called wide analytics or big data. And on top of that, everything is mobile. So it's a very exciting time in the informatics world, and I'm really happy to participate in this webinar. Let me start quickly by introducing Starlims and who we are. We are a software company with over 25 years of experience in the LIMS arena. We have successful track record of deploying our Starlims LIMS software to over 1,000 labs in 40+ countries. Now, at Starlims, we really feel the big data trend across the different industry that we serve. And I will not try to bore you with a description of big data volumes, velocity, and variety. Much of this information is available for you on the web, and I'm sure you get it by this point. But big data is a problem that is beyond science and computing power. And what is less commonly talked about is how you would get an insight from big data. And organizations that successfully adapt their data structure, architecture, and processes to address big data see major improvements in operational efficiency, they see growing revenues, and they're really empowering new business models. So with time, we will see that this trend will only increase. So how do you start looking at big data? Or in other words, how do we get insight from big data? So to illustrate how we could look at big data, I would like to start with a very generic example. And in this example, we wrestle about the fair price for a condo in Florida. And we're looking at previous years. So we have this table below that show us the average sales price and the number of transactions for each month between the years 2003 and 2005. Now, while if we are interested in the general trend of the average price and the number of transactions over the years, in order to do that, we present the same data we saw earlier into a line chart, okay? And one of the interesting insights we have is really seeing the average price of a condo has increased significantly in 2005, even though the total number of transactions fell for that period. So sales are growing, 2005, number of transactions fell. That's interesting. At this point, we may say, well, this data is too general, and what I would like to do is to have a breakdown per condo complex. So we add the complex field into this worksheet. So what we see is a breakdown of the sale and the number of transactions per year per given condo complex. Now, an interesting insight is that the prices of this aggregate lending complex have been significantly higher than the other complex. So that's interesting. So now we may be interested to know what really determines the value of specific condos. So we add the square footage to the chart and we place it against the price. And the black line that you see is the baseline fit representing the price per square footage. So now if we are looking at this chart, we see that the square footage is clearly a strong determinant of value. But the jagged line suggests other factors are also at work here. So what are they? What are the factors that matters besides square footage? So we throw the number of bed fields into the chart, and we change the chart into a scatter. Now we could see that the distribution of the dots with indication of the colors, and the color indicates the number of bedrooms. Now, if you look at the scatter, the groups, what we see, the groups of the green dots on the upper area of the chart, what we see is that for the same square footage, buyers tend to pay more for 3 bedrooms. Okay? So, since we have this diversified crowd in this webinar, I chose to start with this very general example that hopefully you could resonate with. And we obviously could keep going on and adding additional factors, additional layers that will give us new insight. So this example really illustrates the power of advanced visualization and how you could simplify even large and complex data. Now let's discuss the same concept in the laboratories. Are we effectively leveraging our laboratory data in decision making? No matter who you are or what you do or what industry you're in or what's your role in this organization, we all have to take decisions at the end of the day. And some decisions or opportunities are not as obvious as others. And perhaps different roles in the labs are interested in different things. So on the surface, you may see an issue. Let's take an example, spikes in turnaround time of your laboratory. But it's not enough to know that the spikes are happening, but you really need to determine why the spikes are happening. So how would you approach this kind of issue? So we all have a pattern of thinking through a subject or issue. And imagine that decision-making process in your mind when you consider the issue of spike in your turnaround time in your laboratory. So when you see an issue with turnaround time in your mind, you're already going through what causes might be. And we can look at this as a hierarchy. So you might consider that this is caused by some test or instrument or people. And if you continue to dig deeper, on the test or product side, you may be concerned about whether these issues affect your top customers or what are the top regions affected by this issue. On the instrument side, perhaps you would like to understand whether an instrument has been overutilized or if an instrument has been out of service. Maybe you can use it to justify a new instrument acquisition. Perhaps on the people side, you would like to dig in and understand things such as whether the technicians are trained and certified or do they have too much workload on their plates? Is there any correlation between the volume of samples and turnaround time? And perhaps maybe you can even justify additional headcount using it. So I realize that you might normally getting this information by talking to your colleagues, to managers, and manually collect this information as part of your hierarchy of decision making in your mind. Imagine you could not only learn of a problem, but quickly find out what is causing it and then start formulating a solution. So you could even use what-if scenarios to identify optimal solutions. And this is what advanced analytics is all about. It's analyzing laboratory data, drilling down through the data and finding new insights. So let me take you through an example that illustrates my point in the next couple of slides. So I'm sure that most of you are familiar with KPI dashboards. And in this dashboard, we see the key metrics to assess how the lab is doing. So depending on your lab, you may be interested to see your different things, such as your current backlog, your current workload, your turnaround time metrics. But this is not the typical static dashboard that you may be familiar with. So let's zoom in on the turnaround time to see this. So in this case, as you look at the turnaround time over time chart, very quickly you can see how your turnaround time looks, with the green representing the number of met turnaround time and the red representing the number of missed turnaround time. Now notice that the green dashed best line fit is going up while the dashed red line is getting down. And this is a good sign over time, meaning you're doing better. Now if you look closely, you will see that around April, there is a significant spike in missed turnaround time. And it would be very interesting for you to understand what is the reason for it. What are the underlying factors for these spikes? So not just to see that it happened, but quickly determine the root cause. So what we do, we draw a box around this particular area, which allow us to drill down into the underlying factors that are causing the spike that we see. Now, the drill down will navigate us to the turnaround time dashboard for the exact period where we drew the box. So we see the breakdown by a team, by equipment, by test name. And here you could see the correlation between them with the ability to filter, drill down and up on the fly. And this type of technology can very quickly help you to determine not just that you have the problem, but also find out what is causing the issue and start formulating a solution. So these dashboards are just very few examples of what can be done with the powerful visualization and with the ability to go and drill down into your data. And with this type of technology, you can actually see and understand your data. And by doing that, you gain new insight into your laboratory. So as you explore this type of technology of big data for your lab, I provided on the screen some of the purchasing consideration that you may want to look at. So to summarize, I hope you are beginning to see the power of this technology in your lab when you're analyzing big data. Advanced analytics will allow you to understand your laboratory in new ways. And when you look for LIMS or ELN vendor, look for one that provides you with out-of-the-box dashboards with powerful visualization, which will allow you to see and understand your data. You want a vendor that understands your data. You want a solution that allows you to drill down through the data that enable you to see not only what is happening in your lab, but why things are happening, analyzing trends and new opportunities. You want fast solutions that enable you to find answer on the fly, even with large amount of data. Everybody that is in the LIMS market enough time knows that LIMS and ELN customers spend more money in integration than they actually pay for licenses. So you want a LIMS or ELN solution that include advanced analytics capabilities that are seamlessly integrated into the LIMS, into the solution. You want advanced analytics solution that has mobile capabilities that enable you to access your data anytime, anywhere to make critical business decisions. And finally, since you know and understand your laboratory best, you want the ability to easily create your own visualization and dashboard to get insight from big data. So as you can see, this is a very exciting time to be in the laboratory informatics space, and we at Starlins would love to talk to you about some of your business needs and try to help you with them. So thank you very much for your time.